What's going on, guys? It's your boy Jacob from Topside MMA, and today I'm coming at you with my best bets video for UFC Vegas 110, Garcia versus Onama. You guys know the deal. We're going to break down every single fight, and I'm going to tell you all my favorite bets this week. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First up, we got Talita Alencar versus Ariane Carnelossi. I got nothing on this. I'm really not trying to touch this one. I have seen the line is tightening quite a bit. You know, Talita Alencar is now about a 2-1 favorite. If I were to play this gun to my head, I'd probably take Alencar money line and call it a day. But personally, I just don't really want to get there at 2-1 odds because Carnelossi easily could just bully her way through this fight. She could just use raw manpower to just bully her way through a win. We could see a battle of strength beating out actual talent and technique. So it could happen. Do I think that happens? Not necessarily. I think Talita Alencar should win this fight. But, you know, I do worry maybe if this goes longer, you know, maybe if she starts to slow down, it could look dicey in the third round. Who knows? I just don't want to get near it. So yeah, nothing on this one. Next up, though, we got Rowe versus Seokhyeon. I got a small play on Rowe money line. This line is actually tightening up too. It's continuing to tighten and tighten. I just think the value is on Rowe this week. I really don't think there's a whole lot of value on Seokhyeon. If you look, we talked about this. It was either my full card breakdown or my locks and traps video. But it's statistically in these types of fights where there's a 9-inch reach advantage, Rowe would be winning this fight on paper. If you just looked at it objectively, Rowe should win this fight statistically about 7 out of 10 times. So to have him as this huge of an underdog against Seokhyeon, who's proven to have chin problems and really doesn't want to keep it on the feet at all, he doesn't want to strike, and he will not want to in this fight. I think Rowe is extremely live, and we've seen fights like this recently too, where some guys just went blanket in his way to a decision, like the Jelton Almeida and the Volkov fight. I mean, like we literally just saw how control time might not necessarily get you a win on the scorecards if you're landing some damage on the ground. So this could go either way. I just don't think there's really any value taking the Seokhyeon money line this week, just because he's been a huge favorite. I like how the line's tightening. I think people are starting to realize that too. Rowe is definitely live this week. Could he lose? Absolutely. I literally have Seokhyeon as the pick. I think he could definitely win this fight if he just goes with a crazy wrestling grapple heavy approach to this. So I literally have this in terms of like my sheet. I have this as value/hedge because I have this potential live money line bet. If at any point I can hedge this, I definitely will, because it's like I don't really want to get too far invested on this because we've seen Rowe lose very similar stylistic matchups before in the past. Even like the Angelusa, he was losing that up until he got a lucky knockout at the very end. So don't get me wrong, I still think Rowe could definitely be the guy to go against the statistic and be the 3 out of the 10 that are the outliers. Don't get me wrong, I do think that's a probable outcome. I think it's a very probable outcome this weekend. So don't get too far on this. And then finally, I really like, though, I had the Rowe KO only decision or sub no action. I don't know. I placed this bet earlier in this week. I was just looking at the KO. That just stood out to me as like, oh shit, we've seen Cody knocked out multiple times. Rowe is very durable. But then I thought about it too. I'm like, Rowe is a high-level BJJ black belt. He's not going to get submitted by Seokhyeon. So I really should have just taken the finish-only prop. I believe it's like a plus 115 now. That's probably the better play. I have it split up. And on one hand, you could say, I guess I have reduced risk on this in case Rowe is to get finished. But, I mean, if you're going to play either of these, you probably should just do the finish only. But I just think the knockout especially so, because, I mean, I really don't see Cody knocking out Rowe. I don't see that happening. I like both of these, and if either of these outcomes don't happen, like if this goes to a decision, the KO or sub no action, the no action meaning you would get a refund if either of those outcomes happen. So for this KO only prop, for you guys that don't know, KO only, if there's not a knockout, so decision or a submission outcome happens, for either guy you get a refund, and the submission only, if there's a knockout or a decision, you would get a refund. I have it on both ends, obviously, so it's like basically a finish. If it goes to a decision, both of these will be a refund. So that does it for that one. Like I said, I'm looking for a live money line bet potentially on Seokhyeon to try and hedge out this original money line that I got, because I think there could be a lot of success. You know, if Rowe is able to keep this one on the feet early on, this money line is going to tighten up quite a bit because he's going to be the better striker, and if he's able to keep it on the feet, I imagine there'll be a nice little hedge opportunity. Maybe not, you know, maybe I'm fully prepared, I guess, rather, for this bet to lose, but I just think there's a good little hedge opportunity for us in this one. So next up, we got Montserrat Ruiz versus Ardelean. Same thing here. I literally got a small little play on Montserrat Conejo Ruiz, 0.1 units at plus 300. What are we doing? We're making Ardelean a minus 400 favorite. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? I just took this as a little, kind of like the same thing. I literally called it value/hedge because I'm looking to hedge this. I am not doubling down on this. If Conejo Ruiz becomes like, she'd have to become like a plus 2,000 underdog in the first round for me to consider a live bet on her. This is as far as I'm willing to go. She's not getting a dime more out of me. But I just think there's value there. You know, if she's able to keep it on the feet and look pretty decent in terms of the striking, if it's back and forth on the feet in the first round, there's no way in hell she's going to be a plus 300 by the end of that round, unless Ardelean is landing knockdowns or really just beating the shit out of her. I don't see it going that way. So who knows? I just think this is like, there could be no hedge value at all. Maybe Alice Ardelean comes out here and just dominates from start to finish. You know what I mean? There could be no value. This could be a burn, kind of like the Phil Rowe one. However, I just think there's a lot of potential. The what if is decently probable. You know, if Ruiz is able to keep it on the feet for that first round, even up that money line, definitely will be looking to hedge this, because I would rather just hedge out of this with some type of a value or some type of nice value as opposed to just let this one ride, because that's the whole goal of this bet for me, is just to look for some type of potential hedge. So anyway, does it for this one. Next up, we got Ketlen Vieira versus Norma Dumont. I got a nice little Norma Dumont money line, minus 175. The more that I think about this one, you know, I'm like, is this line a tad wide? Probably. I'm like, the more I look at it, I'm like, it's probably a bit juiced. However, I'm kind of just riding with it. You know, I really just think it's going to be a pretty simple breakdown on this one. I think Norma Dumont is just more versatile. Yes, I think the grappling is going to be very close between the two of them, but in terms of who's landing the more damaging shots, I think it's going to be Norma Dumont. You know, I really think she's a good chance to win this fight, and I think for this line, like I said, it's a bit juiced. However, I think there's just really good value in the sense of Norma Dumont should win this fight if she can just land some damage on the feet. I think that's how this fight should go. Anything could happen. Ketlen Vieira is very high level, so you cannot count her out. That's why I only have a half unit. I don't want to go too far on this, because there's definitely a very realistic shot that Norma Dumont could lose this fight if Ketlen Vieira is able to have her way in the grappling. So it could go either way, just a half unit, but I really do think Norma Dumont should win this fight. But next up, Donte Johnson versus SD Dumas. I got nothing on this. I was considering maybe like a round one knockout prop, doing a small quarter unit bet on that, calling it a day. I just haven't got there yet. That might be like a game day decision or game time decision, where I throw maybe like a quarter unit on Donte Johnson round one knockout. Because other than that, I really don't want to get anything more on Donte Johnson. I feel like if you're taking his money line at minus 350, we haven't seen enough from him to really give me a lot of confidence that he can hang if this were to go into a tricky spot, or if he were to go later into the rounds. Who the hell knows? It's just not, I'm not confident enough to really get behind such a huge price tag like that. And SD Dumas, he is 4-0 to a decision too. If you look at the betting lines for this, it's absolutely insane. They have Donte Johnson as like the finish only prop. He's like a minus 500. But then if you look at the decision only prop, it's a pick'em. Quite literally, it is a minus 110, or minus 120, minus 110, I believe. It's like just about a pick'em. So the books, I kind of agree with the books on that one. If this goes to a decision, who the hell knows who's going to win? Like I said, SD Dumas 4-0 to a decision. So I'm just kind of playing this one. I'm like, you know what? You don't have to bet on every fight. And this is one where I'm just like, let me just take a step back. Like I said, I'm considering maybe a knockout prop, but because there's actual some value on that, and that's how he's winning all of his fights. So like that, to me, makes the most sense on paper. But yeah, in terms of just parlaying him up in every single parlay at minus 350, not going to be able to get there. But next up, we got Timmy Cuamba versus ChangHo. I think if you're heavy on either side, if you really like one of these guys, either way, there's good value. And if you like one of these guys, take the shot. You know what I mean? It's a good coin toss where you could really have good, I guess, not opinions, but like, I don't know. You could have good reasons for liking either guy. I'm just not getting there. I like some coin tosses. I'm more willing to take the coin toss. Others, like this one, I'm like, I'd rather just not. So I'm going to sit back and watch this, see how it goes. We've never seen Timmy Cuamba in the UFC at bantamweight before, so it'll be interesting to see how he hangs. He looks good, like we talked about in the weigh-ins, but in terms of how he fights, we will have to see it. We'll see if that chin holds up. So, does it for that one. Now, talking about coin tosses, we got Billy Elekana versus Kevin Christian. I got Kevin Christian sub-only prop, KO or decision, no action. This is like a coin toss from hell. Oh my God, just looking at this is like repulsive. It's disgusting, but it just makes sense. It just makes sense. I mean, Kevin Christian is literally a one-trick pony submission only guy. He's a high-level BJJ black belt. Billy Elekana is a purple belt. This makes sense, right? Like, I'm not insane for placing this, but like, this is a coin toss from hell. I mean, is there a world where Christian could get submitted? I guess. Should that happen in this fight? Absolutely not. How would Billy Elekana submit Kevin Christian? How? This is a coin toss from hell. If you don't want to play that, yeah, I don't blame you. It's going to be an absolute sweater. It's just one of those, you got a BJJ black belt whose only way to win is by submission against a purple belt who's been submitted before, and you're getting it at minus 105. I mean, I'm only human. And I'm taking, I had to. It's too good. It's too good. They got me. They trapped me in. They got me. But anyway, it does it for that one. Next up, we got Allan Nascimento versus Cody Durden. I was looking for the Cody Durden 1+ takedown, same game parlay. It's not out yet. It might not ever come out. I did not see it. I was looking for it. Did not see it, though. But yeah, I got a little play on Allan Nascimento via submission. It just makes too much sense. For plus 150, it's kind of like the Kevin Christian. Oh, yeah, Kevin Christian sub only. The odds are just juicy enough to where I'm like, all right, I'll take the bait. I will take the bait. You got me. You got me. It's just, we know Cody Durden, his cardio has really been a problem in recent fights. To get this plus 150, I know plus 150 on a submission prop normally, not good. It's pretty shitty. However, with a type of guy like Allan Nascimento, he's really a sub or bust. He's not knocking out anyone. He's going to wrestle. He's going to look to grapple the entire fight. Normally, if this was like a more well-rounded fighter, yeah, the plus 150 subline, garbage. But Allan Nascimento, he could win a decision. But, I mean, besides that, I mean, grappling is his one trick. That's all he's going to do in this fight. I mean, genuinely, that's all he's going to do. Cody Durden, though, he could look good maybe if he's able to keep it on the feet. You know, that's what I have here, too. I have this potential live bet on Allan Nascimento in round 2 or 3. If Durden is able to keep it on the feet, you know, maybe for whatever reason, he knows his cardio is going to be compromised in this fight, stepping up on short notice. Maybe he's able to keep it on the feet and box for the first round. He could tighten up in terms of the money line. You know, Allan Nascimento's line might tighten up if it goes into the second or third round. I just think it's a matter of time before Cody Durden's cardio is going to give out. Allan Nascimento doesn't really have the offensive wrestling to land takedowns on a guy like Cody Durden, but it's just a matter of time. If he gasses out, I bet you his takedowns are going to look pretty solid if Cody Durden's completely death-gassed in rounds 2 or 3. I think he's going to eventually get it to the ground. We've seen Cody Durden submitted multiple times before. Allan Nascimento is a high-level grappler. He should be able to do it against a gassed-out Cody Durden. So for me, I'd much rather play the plus 150 on the submission prop as opposed to a minus 300 money line. This just seems like an absolute no-brainer to me in terms of, I thought about maybe doing, you could have done by decision if you think it'll go long. I just don't trust Cody Durden. I think he's not going to stick to a smart game plan. He likes to go to war. He likes to make fights bar brawls. So it's like, I don't trust him to not get submitted and not tire out in a short notice step up. And we saw him in the weigh-ins too. He did not look like he's been training a bunch. Like there's no weight cut. I mean, he's not shredded. He's not lean. He looks like he just came right off the couch. So yeah, I think Allan Nascimento should get a submission in this fight. I'd be surprised if he didn't, because I mean he's very live on the ground. Yeah, he's not able to submit like a half out Philho, but he's an extremely high level BJJ black belt. So it's like, a Philho and a Durden are not the same level of grappler. Now, the wrestling, yeah, that's where it could get tricky. So we'll have to see if Allan Nascimento is able to take it to the ground. Maybe Cody is really going to defensively wrestle and keep it on the feet. Who knows? But I just think for the value, I really like this quarter unit Allan Nascimento by submission, plus 150. Then, next up, we got Charlie Radtke versus Daniel Frunza. I like Charlie Radtke a lot in the spot. I don't think Daniel Frunza is UFC level fighter. I really just don't think he's all that great. Charlie Radtke, I got one unit on his money line at minus 160. I know this line is getting worse. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Not too bad. I think it's like a minus 180 now. I still think it's value. I mean, anything minus 200 or better, I would play it for Charlie Radtke. I really think he should win this spot. Yeah, he's losing against Carlos Prates. Anyone would lose to Carlos Prates. I mean, Carlos Prates is elite. And even like Malat, too. It's like, he's still a very high-level guy. I mean, it's like, those are respectable losses. Frunza's losing to Reese McKee. Not the same. They are not the same. And I really just don't think there's a whole lot of upside. Now, I got a little splash too. A fight ends by knockout in under 2.5 rounds. I just like the value on this. You know, Charlie Radtke, he's knocking guys out or he's getting knocked out. Same with Frunza. I mean, he's going to finish. I would be surprised if Charlie Radtke were to death gas. I think he would get finished later on in the second or third round because Frunza's cardio is not going to stop. He's not going to slow down. So either guy could get knocked out in the spot. That's why I don't really hate it. I placed this bet earlier on in this week at minus 145. I think this line's probably gotten worse at this point. Same with the under 2.5. I got it at minus 160 quarter unit on both of these. I think these lines have gotten worse because these were earlier bets that I placed, but this one was more recent. I got a little sprinkle on Charlie Radtke by submission just to kind of hedge out of this potential fight ends by knockout. I could see Charlie Radtke getting the rear naked choke here. I mean, he's done it against guys in the past. We've seen Frunza has been submitted by rear naked chokes because if you hurt the guy, he's going to be disoriented. He's going to be vulnerable. And Charlie Radtke, you know, coming off of some, not the best. I mean, he's had good wins too, but some recent losses that's like, he might want to just say, fuck it, I don't want to crash out. I don't want to make this uglier than I need it to be. Let me just come in here, get the win, get my bonus, and bounce. And if he does that, I could easily see him hurting Frunza and then jumping on a submission. Because, Charlie Radtke is a high-level grappler. He doesn't really use it. We don't really see it. But he does have the grappling accolades to back him up on this spot. And he's going to be a hell of a lot better grappler than a Daniel Frunza. So, there is a chance at plus 500, 0.05 units, very, very small sprinkle. I'm more likely, I think the real outcome of this fight will probably be Radtke by knockout. However, anything could happen, so I think if anyone's going to get the sub, it's going to be Charlie Radtke. Because it's literally, if I looked at the sub-only prop, I thought about being a little more safe on it, but it was minus like 550, so it's like completely unplayable at that point. So I took Charlie Radtke, just a small little sprinkle at plus 500 instead. But anyway, that does for that one. Next up, we got Isaac Dulgarian versus Yadier Delval. Now, this is I got the most amount of bets on this entire fight out of any other one, just because I think there is a lot of value on the fight this week. Now, my favorite bet on this entire fight is the over 1.5 rounds. I really like this line. I think this fight should go over. I don't think either guy's going to get a finish. I even thought about taking the Yadier Delval first round only. I think if anyone's going to get a finish in the first round, I could see Yadier Delval wrapping up a submission. I could. Call me crazy, but I could see that happening. Now, I also have Yadier Delval plus 7.5 spread. I also have Yadier Delval to win in round 3. Very, very small. Plus 1,600, but 0.025 units. Extremely small play there. Yadier Delval, I got a quarter unit on his plus 7.5 spread. That's what it's set at. This is not an alternate spread. It's absolutely insane. The only doubt in the back of my mind of this fight, because I do think this fight is going to likely go to a decision. So in the back of my mind, I do have the doubt in the sense of maybe if Dulgarian were to get a 10-8 round in the first, that could fuck it up, you know what I mean? If it's a 10-9, I think likely he'll come back. I do think that Yadier Delval will likely win this third round if it goes that far. I think that I'm not too worried about that. It's just more so if he gets 10-8'd in the first across all 3 judges' scorecards, that could be a bad look. Could definitely be a bit dicey in terms of this plus 7.5 hitting or not. So it's a bit riskier. I do get it. And I get why it's set at a plus or minus 7.5 for the spread, because it's normally a plus or minus 3.5 for a regular 3-round fight. So they're definitely thinking, all right, Dulgarian's going to come in here and get a finish. I just disagree with that. I do not think there's going to be a finish. And if it is, I think Delval is going to be more likely to get the finish. Maybe it's a hot take, but that's just my opinion on this fight. And I also got a little Isaac Dulgarian via decision. I think for plus 250, I think that's great value. I think that's Isaac Dulgarian's main path to win this fight. If he's going to win this, I think he's just going to have a really dominant round 1, round 2. Round 3 comes around. They're both probably going to be a bit tired, but I think Yadier Delval is going to have a bit better cardio, and he should be able to push on and win that third round. That's how I've been calling this fight the last week or so. I genuinely really do think that's how this fight goes down. There are some other outcomes that could happen. Like, I think if Yadier is to get a finish, I would imagine it would be in the third round. If we see from Isaac Dulgarian, if we see him slow down, I think he's definitely live for a potential finish, but obviously the odds kind of reflect the probability of that happen. Very, very, very small. But yeah, I got that. I also got Isaac Dulgarian and 1+ takedown landed. This is a no-brainer. Oh shit, well these odds are off. This is not true. I can tell you guys right now, I think it's like a minus 180. It's a same game parlay too. I guess I just forgot to change these odds on this one. But yeah, it's a same game parlay, and my thought behind this was just, this is going to be his main win condition. If Isaac Dulgarian is going to win this fight, he's going to have to land a damn takedown. So it's like, if you're taking his money line this week, this is the much better play in my opinion. Yeah, minus 170, that's what it is. Okay. Literally, you take a minus, what is he at? His money line's like a minus 2... I don't know what the hell it's at. It's like minus 260, minus 270 for 1+ takedown, same game parlay, minus 170. Absolutely nuts. I like the values there. I just had to get on there. So I got a quarter unit on that, minus 170. Yeah, via decision, that is plus 250 though. Absolutely insane. I don't get how it's that big of a jump. They really think he's going to get a finish inside the distance. I think he's very live for a decision win. So anyway, and finally I have Yadier Delval sub only. Oh, did I say it? Maybe I thought about the first round. One of these props I thought I had placed, but I actually did. Am I sounding stupid right now? Who the hell knows? But anyway, Yadier Delval sub only. It was the first round sub. That's what it was, the first round only. I thought about playing the first round only for Yadier Delval because I think there's a chance he could wrap one up. But yeah, this is what I had. Yadier Delval sub only, KO decision, no action. Yadier Delval is a BJJ black belt. He's a very high level grappler, and I'm not worried about him getting submitted by Isaac Dulgarian. Isaac Dulgarian's more of just like pressure, trying to hold you down type of guy. Yes, he's gotten submissions in the past before. I just don't think his grappling and his BJJ is at the level where he's really going to be a huge threat to Yadier Delval. I trust him to be able to survive. Now, will Isaac Dulgarian likely get to a dominant position? Yeah, for sure. especially in the first round or the second round. It's just, I don't think he's going to submit him. And we've seen Yadier Del Val, he is a mean guillotine. And in his fight in the Contender Series, I'm blanking on who the guy's damn name was. When he fought Antonio Montero, now he jumps guillotine. I watched this fight back yesterday. I was like, oh my goodness, he got saved by the bell. I mean, he has this guillotine off of a takedown attempt, and he's holding it so damn tight. If he had another 5 seconds, Montero would have gone to sleep. I mean, the round ends, he falls off, he lets go of it, and Montero he's like dizzy as shit, and he like goes back to his stool. He would have been finished in that fight, and I'm like, all right, he has a very, very nasty guillotine. He's used it before, he's gotten it before. Is it a potential risk? Yes, but at the same time, I could see him jumping Gilly. I could see him getting it in the first round. I would not be surprised. That's why I got the sub only too. This could happen later on in the fight. And I think more likely, because the reason I had the first round only, or I was talking to you guys about that when we first started this breakdown for this fight, the potential first round only is I think he's live. Possibly he could get it in the first round. Whereas I don't necessarily think Isaac Dulgarian will get a first round finish here. Doesn't seem likely to me at all. But yeah, in terms of the guillotine though, the sub only, I think he's more live. I think that guillotine is going to be pretty deadly. Let's say the second or third round comes around. He's tired. Isaac Dulgarian is absolutely death gassed. He might start shooting sloppy ass takedowns. If he gets sloppy, he's going to allow himself to be vulnerable to a potential guillotine. It could happen. It might not. But I think for these odds, I like it. Plus 225, I think that's crazy value considering you have a BJJ black belt. You think he's going to get submitted by Dulgarian? I just don't think so. So at plus 225, I got 0.15 units on that. And I wanted to talk about this fight too, because I really do like the over 1.5 rounds. And I think people are expecting an early finish in this fight. I went back through Isaac Dulgarian's record, and I wanted to talk about this fight just a little bit. I know I talked about it in my weigh-in recap. I wanted to bring this fight back up and talk about it later on. I was going through Isaac Dulgarian's record, right? And I'm looking at his recent fights. I'm like, his finishes in his fights, I don't want to say his record is padded, but there's a lot of, bumps in this record that kind of like stood out to me. His level of competition that he's fought is not the same as anywhere near a Yadier Del Val. And I just really don't think, I think people are expecting Yadier Del Val to really just kind of get steamrolled here. They think Dulgarian's just going to run right through him. I just don't think that's the case. Now, if you look at Isaac Dulgarian's fight history, he fought Brendan Murat. Brendan Murat is from the New England Cartel. Those guys have bad grappling notoriously. So obviously he got dominated in the grappling. And Brendan Murat is just not a good fighter to begin with. So easy win for him there. Made sense. Took it into the second round as like a, minus 2,000 favorite, which you could argue, yeah, he's slowing down, taking his time with it. But still, that win doesn't really tell me a whole lot about him. Then finally, the Christian Rodriguez fight. Now, I think he won that fight. It's just, if you look at Christian Rodriguez at the time of that fight, he was a purple belt in BJJ. He was a purple belt. So yeah, he was not able to really win scrambles on the ground. Isaac Dulgarian was definitely a step ahead of him. But we saw when he slowed down, I know we've already talked about this, but when he slowed down in that fight, he was very vulnerable to being submitted, to being knocked out. It's just Christian Rodriguez he's not, I don't know, he doesn't have the fight finishing abilities necessarily. He's not as, I want to say powerful, but you know what I'm trying to say. He doesn't have the finishing abilities as someone like a Yadier Del Val. He's not as dangerous, you know what I mean? He's not as ferocious. He's not going to get those finishes later on. He just didn't have it in him. I think a guy like Yadier Del Val definitely could, but it makes sense. It's like Christian Rodriguez, he's a purple belt in BJJ at the time of that fight. So yeah, he wasn't winning the grappling exchanges. And then before that, we saw Francis Marshall. Now, he got knocked out in the first round. If you go back and watch that ground and pound, it's more so, it's not that Francis Marshall is hurt or anything. It's just he can't escape. He's just trapped on the ground. And at the time too, Francis Marshall was a purple belt in BJJ as well. So it's like, yeah, Isaac Dulgarian is going out and he's beating these purple belts in grappling exchanges. That makes sense. I'm not mind blown by that. He's beating guys who can't grapple in grappling. And I'm not saying C-Rod has bad grappling. He does have good scrambling abilities. It's just at the time, especially of the fight, he's beating purple belts. Yeah, he's a Division II All-American wrestler. He should be dominating on the ground against purple belts and winning those scrambles. You'd hope he has the experience and the extensive background to be able to do something like that. And it's just with the Francis Marshall fight, the ground and pound, I mean, they technically call it a TKO. If you watch that fight back, Francis Marshall just pops right back up. Like, he's not hurt at all. The ground and pound is more pitter-patter. It's just he had no way to escape. So I'm looking at these finishes. I'm like, okay, he couldn't finish C-Rod. C-Rod, we've seen him submitted by high-level grapplers. Francis Marshall, he couldn't get out. It wasn't like he was landing damaging strikes. He just couldn't do anything because he got trapped, low-level grappler. And then Brandon Murat, low-level grappler, got out-grappled and got submitted. Like, neither of those wins mean anything. And then before the UFC run, I look back at his earlier fights. People were like going on about it's like, oh, he finished everyone in the first round. He's not going to a second round with anyone. And it sounds sick, and it is. I mean, he's still running through guys. But you look at these guys. I mean, before he got to the UFC, his most recent fight was against a guy named TJ Britton. And I went and looked at this TJ Britton guy. I'm like, who Who the fuck is this guy? I look at him, TJ Britton, 73. He's 43 years old. So before he gets to the UFC, Isaac Dulgarian beats a 43-year-old man. Then before that, he beats Ray Ostrander. Who the fuck is this guy? Ray Ostrander, 3-6 and 38 years old. So it's like, all right, he's beating 40-year-olds who are ass on the regional scene. Okay, it's not the most impressive. Then before that, he beats Jesse Ebrecht, 3-12. So it's like, yeah, Dulgarian's regional run looks good on paper, but you look, he's beating 40-year-olds and guys who were 3-12. I mean, he's running through guys who are pissed. Yadier Del Val is the most well-rounded guy he's ever fought and has fought in his entire career. This is going to be a very interesting fight. I like with Yadier Del Val too. He's a BJJ black belt and he's also a brown belt in judo. I went and looked it up, had to figure that out. So I'm thinking if this is against the cage, I think he's going to be very live to possibly even land a sweep or land some type of a reversal. I mean, he could land a whole bunch of different shit if it gets to the ground, against the cage. It could be dangerous anywhere this fight goes. I like the fact that he has that judo background as well, because if they're able to keep it clinched up against the cage, I like his chances in this quite a bit. Yeah, Dulgarian has the wrestling background. He doesn't have a judo background, though. I know, I mean, it's comparable, I guess, because they're both on the feet. I mean, I could get the argument for that. However, I just like the extra addition of his game. You know, Yadier Del Val is going to be the better striker with better cardio. I think he has the better all-around grappling and submission abilities. It's just Dulgarian has the elite level wrestling that's really going to carry him likely throughout the first round or two. So anyway, I say all that to say, you know, I do think that Dulgarian is not going to get him out of there earlier. My favorite bet on this entire fight is the over 1.5. And I know I'm kind of rambling on about this fight, but I do like this bet quite a bit. And if you want to look at Yadier Del Val too, the other thing about levels of competition, Yadier Del Val, yeah, Connor Matthews not that great, chokes him out in a round. However, Antonio Montero, that fight, people are saying, oh, his cardio is bad. He went all out going for the finishes. His cardio actually looked pretty damn good to me, considering the level of intensity that he pushed in that fight. And the thing too, Antonio Montero, the guy he beat on the Contender Series, he was a BJJ black belt. He was 17-4. He's a decent fighter. I mean, that guy looked, I know he was a step behind against a guy like Yadier Del Val, but that's not some regional bum. I mean, it was a high-level grappler that he was able to really dominate from start to finish. And then before that, too, even on the regional scene, you know, Yadier Del Val, he's been fighting in Fury. He's been fighting in Combat Global. He fought the much better level of competition on the regional scene. I mean, he even beat Michael Aswell, who was 7-0 at the time, now in the UFC. The level of competition between them is not close. Yadier Del Val is the more well-rounded fighter. Everyone's on Dulgarian this week, and I'm still have him as the pick. I'd be careful. That's why I do like the over 1.5 rounds. I like the plus 7.5 spread. I don't think there's going to be a finish. I do think if this is going to go longer, there could be a potential round 3 finish. I see this going a lot longer, though. I think likely it goes to the scorecards. I see this going to a decision. So I don't mind the Dulgarian by decision, because I think he could definitely win if it goes to the scorecards. I think he probably should if he's able to, you know, really wrestle and control Del Val. But anyway, enough rambling about this one. I just want to talk about that a little bit more, because there's some good betting opportunities for this fight. I really like the over 1.5. I thought about making this the play of the week, the over 1.5 rounds, but there's one other option we had. But anyway, next up we had, we had a potential live bet on Yadier Del Val late in round 1. You know, if he's able to have some type of success, or later on, it could happen in the second or third round. You know, I think if there's a good chance that Dulgarian comes out here and just wrestle fucks his way when he's fresh and explosive, yeah, this money line is going to shoot. I mean, literally talk about it. Dulgarian will likely come out very hot in round 1 and dominate in the wrestling, which will skyrocket Yadier's odds to a huge underdog towards the very end of round 1, and even potentially towards the end of round 2, Yadier will be 100% worth a shot. That's if we can get Yadier Del Val as a huge underdog. Like, if Dulgarian dominates in the wrestling in the first round, I wouldn't be surprised if Del Val shoots up to like a plus 800 underdog. I would not be surprised at all. And if he gets to that point, best believe I'm going to have a little sprinkle on him. I'm going to have a little stab, because it'll definitely be worth it. He could come back in the end. So let's see. But anyway, that's for that one. Next up, we got Jeremiah Wells versus Themba Gorimbo. Themba Gorimbo, I got decision only, KO or sub, no action. I just think Jeremiah Wells is way too damn dangerous. I mean, if he's able to just crash out and he goes just Tasmanian devil mode here, and it just goes absolutely crazy, he could finish Themba Gorimbo. He could knock him out. He could submit him. So I think if it goes to a decision, it's going to be likely Themba Gorimbo is going to be really just kind of control fucking his way against the cage, working the grappling, trying to just control him, wet blanket his ass. He could use his distance. You know, he could strike from range. Either way, I think he could definitely win the decision, because, you know, Jeremiah Wells isn't the most technical. He's trying to make it ugly in every fight. And I think if Themba Gorimbo is able to really kind of meticulously or like point fight his way to a decision here, he can definitely win. Just a small quarter unit. Besides that, I don't want anything else to do with this fight, because I think Jeremiah Wells is definitely live for a finish. you could just not. The more this goes on, the more I don't like it, honestly. If I could go back and cash this out, I probably would. But anyway, we got it, so I'm forced to ride with it. But yeah, this was an earlier bet I placed in the week. The longer this week's gone on, the less I've been loving that one. But anyway, it is what it is. But I do like Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Ante Delija. I got Ante Delija round 1 only. Any other outcome, no action, aka refund. I don't mind this. I think if Delija comes out here like a crash out, he might burn out. And if he gasses out, he's only going to have that high intensity ferocity for about 1 round. After that, he could get finished. He might lose a decision. Who the hell knows? Because Waldo Cortes-Acosta isn't really the most dangerous. He's just trying to out-volume you. He's really trying to go long. He's very durable as well, too. So I expect this to go long. I actually don't mind the over props on this fight, like we talked about. It's just, if Ante Delija comes out here, he could potentially finish Waldo in the first round. And I don't see him getting finished in the first round either. So for minus 210, I don't think it's terrible value. This is one you could definitely avoid or just not place at all. But I just got a small quarter unit on it, minus 210. I think it's decent value. And then finally, Steve Garcia versus David Onama. We talked about this one. I like Steve Garcia quite a bit in this one. I think he's the better striker. I think he's more explosive. Chin for chin, it's gonna be interesting. But I just think he's better than David Onama pretty much everywhere. I really do think he's just a step ahead of David Onama. He's proven it against a higher level of competition. We've seen David Onama get clipped by Roberto Romero very recently. So if he's getting clipped by Roberto Romero, I think it's a matter of time before Steve Garcia touches that chin. Nice little southpaw versus orthodox. It's really catching guys off guard. I think Steve Garcia is going to be very live for a knockout in this one. So I like him. Half unit on it because either way, either guy could win this fight. This could go either way. I am not extremely dead set on Steve Garcia. This is purely just for the live or for the odds for that minus 130. I think it's great value. I think it should be even wider than that. So minus 130 was a no-brainer for me, half unit. But, it's a bit risky. It could go either way. It's a coin toss. This is a coin toss that I like getting on. This is my type of a coin toss. I like Steve Garcia quite a bit. I think he should win this fight. But anyway, also for the in terms of the live bets, I'm potentially looking to double down on the Steve Garcia money line, and I'm also considering a potential live bet on either guy. If this goes into the second round and either guy's a plus 800 underdog, throw a little sprinkle on them. I'm telling you guys it's worth it. But anyway, lastly, we got the play of the week. I got Charlie Radtke money line as the play of the week. Now, I don't have it here because I already had it placed up here, as you guys can see. So yeah, this is the play of the week. I was really going back and forth. My main 2 lines that I was going back and forth with for the play of the week were Isaac Dolgarian versus Yadier Deval over 1.5 rounds or Charlie Radtke money line. I was torn between these two. Oh yeah, and as you can see too, I got this a little bit earlier in the week, this Charlie Radtke minus 160, like we talked about. This money line's gotten a little bit worse. When I put this in, it ended up being a minus 170, and now I believe it's a minus 180, I think. Still though, I still think it's great value. I do think Charlie Radtke wins this fight. But if you're a little bit more hesitant, or if you don't really like that play as much, these were the 4 that I was going between. I was going between Dolgarian versus Del Val over 1.5 rounds, Charlie Radtke money line, Steve Garcia money line, and Norma Dumont money line. Those were my 4 that I was going between. It was hard to really pick one. This could totally be one of those weeks where this one, the Charlie Radtke, is the only one that misses, and I could see these other 3 hitting. So it's I put all those 4 options down for you guys in case one of them stands out to you a bit more that you might like a bit better than the Charlie Radtke money line. But in terms of the tracking for the play of the week, I am tracking Charlie Radtke money line. That's going to be the bet for the play of the week. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for all the love on the videos. Thank you all so much for all the support on the videos, the likes, the comments, subscriptions, membership, shares, all that. It means a ton. So thank you guys so much for all the love on the videos. Let me know what you guys are thinking. And yeah, until I see you guys next time, it's your boy Jacob from Topside MMA, and I'm out. So peace.